It's time to start some lettuce seed, and I want to talk to you about how I plan to grow enough lettuce for my family of 4 for the whole year. I want to harvest at a minimum 26 pounds of lettuce by the end of the year. This 26 pounds contributes to my overall garden harvest goal of 650 pounds of vegetables from my small suburban lot. Let's get started by creating some soil blocks. Okay, to make my soil blocks, I'm going to take a seed soil mix. Typically I would use the ProMix seed starting mix, but it wasn't available, so we're gonna try this one. What you're looking for in the soil that you're going to use is that it just doesn't have any big woody chunks in it that can get trapped in your soil blocker. You'll need a tray to put the soil blocks on. I like having a big tub to mix the soil and the water together. And of course you'll need a soil blocker. So you're going to want to add a generous amount of water. You want to err on the side of having it too moist than not moist enough. The soil blocker will push out any excess moisture, but if you don't have enough water in your mix, your soil blocks will not stay together. So a lot of times when people tell you to pre-moisten your soil before putting it into soil blocks, they say you want it moist enough that when you squeeze, it's moist, but liquid doesn't necessarily drain through your fingers. With soil blocking, I have found that you want it to be wet. You want it to drain through your fingers pretty good. To load the soil blocker, you really want to push the soil blocker into the soil. Nice and deep. You want it very compacted so that your soil blocks stay together. I like a big, long rectangular bin like this because it lets me step and pack it in so that you get every nook and cranny filled with soil. Really pack it in. And you'll see that the soil blocker will push the excess moisture out the top as it compresses the soil. I like to give it a little squeeze, not trying to get it out, but just making sure that I got any excess water out before I put it onto my tray. And then it is a push/pull-up motion. Perfect. See? You know you have a good soil block if you can gently pull it up without it collapsing. If you can't move your soil blocks gently, you haven't compressed your soil well enough. Soil blocks are delicate at this point, so handle them with care. They become much stronger once the roots are embedded in the soil. Now we're going to continue doing that until we have 24 soil blocks because I'm planning to start 24 lettuce plants for this first succession. The key to having lettuce throughout the year is succession planting. I plan to start a new crop of lettuce every month from March to September for continued harvest. Fresh plants will replace the earlier ones as they bolt and go to seed. The edges of the garden are great spots to plant later lettuce. as these small plants don't require much space and will benefit from the shade of the other vegetables during the summer months. I also want to ensure a fresh supply of lettuce for the fall and winter. Later in the season, I plan to use a 3 by 8 foot garden bed to grow lettuce, with the hopes of overwintering some mature plants. To protect the lettuce from freezing temperatures and harsh winds, I will create a cold frame. If we have a typical winter, I believe I can harvest lettuce from the cold frame well into early 2026. By the end of the succession planting plan, a total of 144 lettuce plants will have circled through the garden, with no more than 24 plants started each month. This is the power of succession planting with quick maturing crops like lettuce. I can really make the best use of my space this way. As you make your soil blocks, you'll see that moisture is being pushed out, like I said, and it'll come a point where the soil is just too soupy, and you're using up the soil you had and squeezing out the excess water. So you'll just have to put in more soil until you get the consistency you like. And the reason I'm not making a ginormous batch of soil all in one go is because I like to be able, I don't want more soil in here than the soil block can reach. I want to hit the bottom of my container in order to scrape the bottom of the soil block and get a good compression going. And if you have too much soil, you're not going to be able to get the soil blocker all the way to the bottom. I always find I start my seed starting with a spoon and clean hands. It never ends that way. So to kick off the spring season, we're gonna sow 4 different types of lettuces because I love a colorful lettuce blend. So we're gonna do the flashy butter gem lettuce, butter crunch, Merlot. What I love about the Merlot one in particular, the color is amazing, but it also, because of the bright red coloring, is higher in antioxidants. And then Marvels of 4 Seasons. When I sow my lettuce, I put 2 to 3 seeds per block because I want to ensure that I have at least 1 plant per block. With lettuce seed, it's very important to not cover the seed too much. Cover it very lightly with soil. It does not want to be planted deep. So I'll just take some of my dry soil and just to say cover the seed. I still want to be able to see the indent the soil blocker made when I'm done. When it comes to watering freshly created soil blocks, you want to do it gently with a spray bottle to saturate just the level where the seeds are. If you go over the soil blocks with a watering can, they are more likely to dissolve on you. Once the seeds are all watered in, I place a humidity dome on top and pop it underneath my grow lights. Thanks for joining me as we started our first round of lettuce. Be sure to subscribe to follow along, and happy gardening!